Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for tuning in to Turn in the Dirt, our live podcast. Tonight we're going to have Jay Hill on with the Widow Maker truck. Jay, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing well, thank you.
Hey, thanks for coming on with me again. I know we just had a chat on Saturday on our live session of Turn in the Dirt. Thanks for doing that with me and coming out. That was really awesome to have you there.
Yeah, I think it was a great time, and it turned out pretty decent. We didn't realize we'd get all those kind of viewers. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's really cool. So how was your weekend this past weekend?
This weekend was a little tough on me on Friday night, and then Saturday, with the I was test puller and then had a horrible run and decided to drop it and decided to come back a little bit later and ended up in the third position. So it worked out well for me. I can't complain about that run at all.
Yeah, it looked like a good time when you came out the second time, that's for sure. So we go into Friday night, you know that you're sitting first in points. You got a heavy hitter. You got Walker sitting right behind you, number 2 spot. What's going through your mind at this point?
Just trying to be keeping it. I guess you could say steady and just trying to keep everything going and keep the truck together to keep up with him. Walker's tough. Walker's been tough for years. Love those guys, and they definitely bring it every week. So obviously, you definitely got to bring it yourself, or they're definitely going to run right on past us.
Yeah, that's for sure. So you're pulling in the 3.0 class, which a lot of people know. But for those of the people that don't know, go ahead and tell us a little bit about your truck and the history of it.
Okay, so I bought this truck. This truck actually came out of Connecticut a few years back, and had some help building her up, the chassis and so forth, and got the chassis situated and ran it for 1 year, took her out to Shides, and then ended up deciding to buy another truck and try to 3.6 class out. Had some issues, health issues, and decided to cut back to 3.0 class and got this truck back and pretty much rebuild it all over again.
Sounds like a lot of work when you're getting into this. For the people that don't know, when we say 3.0 truck, go ahead and explain to the people or whoever may be listening what a 3.0 truck is.
Okay, so basically 3.0 means that this class is set up on a turbo rule by the 3-inch smoothbore turbo. So basically, at that being said, this 3.0 class is we're allowed to run air-to-water intercooler. Most of all our engines do not have antifreeze running through them. Some of them are filled blocks completely. We're limited to the size of an injection pump, and it's considered the last class of DOT tires, which means drive tires from on the street to run, and then the next class up is obviously the cut tire class. So this is the last before you jump up into that cut tire class. So we're allowed to have our beds cut out and draw bars and solid suspensions in the back. It's definitely an open drive line class, an open drive line. But that being said, is that we don't run standard transmissions or anything like that. It's pretty much a drop box with a reverser.
Yeah, they're very non-roadworthy after you turn them into a 3.0 truck, that's for sure. I mean, they come out and they look like a different truck.
Yeah, not by any means.
Yeah. Roundabout in the 3.0 class, what horsepower are you guys about ranging at?
Well, I guess like a lot of times when we get our motors built, obviously we try to dyno tune them on an engine dyno, and get rocking and rolling. Everybody's dynos are different, so it's hard to say. It's basically more of a tuning tool than it is putting out horsepower. But I'd have to assume everybody's probably in that, the 1,200 to maybe 1,400 horsepower class. That's pretty much what you're going to find in and around that area for the competitive ones. Obviously, there's some guys that are trying to climb up into this class that aren't putting out the same amount of horsepower, but like to beat in this class, and that's what's tough, coming up with that horsepower.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. I mean, I watch you guys a lot. I watch a lot of replays because the 3.0 trucks, the 3.6 trucks, even 2.6 smoothbore trucks. I mean, they're no joke. The classes are definitely getting bigger with 2.6 and 3.0. I mean, it's really coming around. It's awesome to see.
Yeah, this class here arrived from the 2.6 trucks, and then they jumped us up to a 3.0 smoothbore, and a lot of guys didn't like that because with that 2.6 non-protrusion Charger, these guys are putting this kind of horsepower out years ago in this class, and then they dropped us down to a 3.0 smoothbore Charger, and then went to an open drive line, which we dropped horsepower until all these turbo guys and engine guys started coming up with more and more horsepower getting through that smoothbore Charger.
So that was back in the day. I can remember there was, I was quite young at this point yet, a 2.630 class. I remember people talking about they were running 2.6s and 3.0s. Now today, you go to a pull, I don't think that would be a very good idea to run 2.6s with 3.0s, do you?
No, not at all, because the 2.6 that run today are a smoothbore Charger too, and they're not even close to the same old 2.6 non-protrusion with the map groove Chargers. Those guys some of the map grooves on those things were pretty big, and they put out a ton of horsepower with those Chargers.
Yeah, it's amazing what people are doing with these trucks. I mean, you think of you look at these trucks, all right, so you run anything from a Dodge, a Chevy, a Ford body. In these classes, a lot of the guys I see are running the Cummins engine, when it comes to your engine being built, you get that already built, or do you do it a lot yourself?
I personally have a machine shop that was local that did some of my older motors for me, which was Miller's Machine Shop in Oxford.
Yeah. Yeah, that's nice to have someone close like that, that's for sure.
Yeah. And then he's still doing a couple pulling motors, but more into the diesel drags. But this motor here, some people try to do or have machine work done, build their own, but this one here was built by Attitude Diesel for me, which is Rob Wright and Audra Wright out in Ohio, and he's one of the big gurus when it comes to a 24 valve motor. So that's why I went with him. Decent people, great everything. I cannot say anything bad about them.
Yeah, you definitely see in the pulling world. You see a lot of Scheid stickers. You see all kinds of stickers for motor builders. Scheid's a big one.
Scheid, Hazley. Yep.
Yes.
You got now Caster coming in. You got O'Brien's. O'Brien's is another big one. We definitely have a Scheid motor in our group. We have an O'Brien motor in our group. We got some Casters. We got some Chaos. So there's a lot of very competitive motor builders out there, and that a lot of guys are running. You got East Coast Diesel still, Lamar still pushing his stuff. So it's definitely a very fun class to be in.
Yeah, that's for sure. And I really think when truck pulling got big around here, the diesel trend got really hot. The younger kids were buying diesel trucks. They were getting them to blow black smoke, and then truck pull started getting bigger because these guys wanted to pull trucks. Well, it's kind of seems like it has evolved more now into those trucks have faded out to now people actually got true pulling trucks in this general area where I'm at. So how long have you been pulling trucks?
Oh, going back to the old fair days down at Cecil County, Maryland, I used to have an old Power Stroke and used to pull it down there and so forth. And then my daughter started getting into it, and then I ended up building a Duramax for her and got out of the Fords and built her up a Duramax, and she won a ton with that Duramax, and then decided to jump up to the next level. She decided not to jump up to the next level, so that put me back in the seat again. Yeah. Going back years, I'd have to say at least over 10 years that I've been actually pulling.
Yeah, that's really awesome. I know you do it as a family. So I know most pullers go out there, and they have a pit crew that goes with them everywhere. So I see, like, when you post something, you hashtag all girl pit crew. What's that all about?
Yeah, that's kind of like my whole family. My wife and I, we had 2 daughters. So the one daughter helps, and she brings a friend with her. And then my wife helps out, and then my secretary at work also helps out. So every once in a while, now my brother-in-law is actually getting into it. So It's not quite all now girls, but it's a majority of girls, yes, and they definitely keep us straight.
That's awesome. That's awesome. It's definitely awesome to see that you got your family out there pulling with you. What's it mean to have your family with you beside you like that?
This is definitely years ago used to be a daughter and I kind of thing. My wife would go every once in a while, and I didn't want it to be a me thing, And when it comes to truck pulling and having a family, it's kind of tough because it takes a lot of both sides, especially in the class that we run. During the week we're taking care of our trucks, trying to clean them up, get them cleaned back up again, going over nuts, bolts, adjusting valves, all that kind of stuff, and then keeping the family life. So it's nice having the family at the truck pool, and they're involved in it just as much as I am. They're just behind the scenes.
That's awesome. We were up at Burlington Motor Park in Burlington, Pennsylvania on Friday and Saturday, obviously, and you were driving around there in your buggy. I seen your wife was hanging out with you, and you had some friends back at the camper, and that was awesome to see. It's a 2-day event, so you definitely need people to be around. You don't want to be there by yourself, and it's nice of them to go out with you like that.
Yeah, and it's tough running this class with you. There's no way I could actually do everything and get the truck off the trailer, get the truck on the trailer, pull me up. You definitely have to have other people there. You just can't do it alone.
Yeah, the pits can be a very dangerous place if you're back there by yourself. That's for sure. So
that's for sure. Yep.
And speaking of the pits, one thing that I see a lot is the people that are coming in to watch these pulls. Because fans are everything. Fans and sponsors are everything to this,
no doubt,
to these organizations. One thing is people don't realize a lot is that they can go out back and come to the pits and meet you guys. I mean, I'm sure yourself you'd be more than willing to, show people your truck.
Oh, no, not yet. I mean, that's what they're there for. And if we don't have fans back there and following us around and watching us, we got nothing. And on the other part of that too is that we need to keep the sport going. So the more people we can get interested in into the truck pulling side of things, we can keep this sport growing. And if it wasn't for the fans, we wouldn't be able to do it.
Yeah, definitely, absolutely. And as you mentioned, to grow the sport, I see it go through. It's kind of like life. It has its ups and downs. Some years you have really good numbers for a certain class, and it dies off. And that's why I say no class is more important than another one, because everyone had to get their start in some sort of class, and
Correct.
You see a lot of people bumping up. So you were talking about how you and your daughter got started. Were you guys just basically street trucks at that time, or?
Oh, it was definitely all street trucks. I used to drive it back and forth to work. It was my daily driver, and then bumping our way back up and bumping our way up and bumping our way up, and that's basically how probably 90% of us have started. There's been a few that have bought in and got their trucks going and learning how to drive right off the bat with something like that. Which, on one extent might help them because they don't pick up any bad habits like we have.
Yeah.
Just getting in. So, but no, most of us all start out small, just weekend fairs. Whenever there's a fair, put our truck in there, rock and roll. And then next thing you know, you're building one, you're building a chassis, and here we are today.
Yeah, and it's cool because when I first got into the scene as a tech official, I met you first driving your 3.6 truck. It was the year that I think you had John Manns driving a lot for you that year.
Yeah, that's the year I had some health issues, yeah.
Yeah, and that's how I got to meet you, and it's really neat. We've become friends over this time, and now I see you out. You built a truck that you were able to handle and everything, and you're out there just letting it having a lot of fun with your 3.0 truck, and it's not underpowered by any means, obviously, because you're sitting in first place right now. You had walkers nipping at your heels. The heavy hitters, I might have to say, didn't quite have the night on Saturday night that they probably would have hoped for. Walkers ended back a little bit. You ended up with a third. But, then you had people like, Curvin, Zimmerman in his truck, he's been having a little bit of trouble coming up to this point, and he come out. I thought he laid a pretty good pass the other night.
Oh, no doubt. He ended up in fourth the other night, and especially after week before, detonating his drive line, breaking the drive shaft, bending his steering, and breaking a yoke and all that kind of stuff. And he made it back out in a week, which is very, like I said, very tough for us, especially getting parts, getting stuff done, and working all the time. And then having him come out and then putting down a pass like that, we're like, okay, here we go. We got another one coming for us.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and John Weaver as well, he come out and he had a pretty good run as well the other night. I mean, these guys are starting to come around a little bit better. And
you give John Weaver a little bit more time. He's definitely someone you need to watch.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Yeah, he's definitely someone you need to watch. And then we got Clint coming along too, and with so forth. So he's coming back from a camping trip, obviously, but there's a lot of great running trucks that we run against every weekend.
Yeah, Clint Mills
some of them,
is one of those trucks that you can go put up against a 3.6 truck, and he does well.
Yep, no doubt. And you get the guys that come away. You got the Gambinos that come down from New York, and Charlie Record that comes out there. I'm glad to see everybody's coming out. I know some of them aren't running for points, which as of this year being with COVID and everything else like that, I'm just glad to see people out.
That's what's so great about this year. So when any event is happening, people are coming out and seeing this, and it's giving people something to do. But at the same time, it's given, at least over on Smoke and Speed side, where they're actually having a lot of pulls. There's some other sanctions having a few pulls, but not near the full season.
Yep.
With Sarah was able to go out, get this place booked, have a points series for all her truck classes. And, you guys get to come out there on this year, and it's unbelievable what is transpiring this year with everything going on, with everything else around it just shutting down.
Yep, no doubt on that, and that's the thing. Just trying to get a little bit of normalcy coming back to what we were used to doing every summer.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I'm glad to see it's happening, and I'm glad to see him, pulling anywhere from 16 to 20 trucks a night in the same class. I mean, there's a lot of places that have been doing truck pulling for years who don't even average that.
Yeah, I know. I've been following East Coast for quite a while, and they normally have a pretty good turnout, but they average about 8 to 10 trucks on the 3.6 class. Now I understand that's a very expensive class to get to. It's definitely more expensive than a 3.0. Not trying to discourage anyone from going to that style class. More power to you. But it definitely, numbers has been a problem in pulling the whole way around.
Oh yeah, no doubt. And like you said, it seems like it goes in runs of how things work. You have a few years that we got a bunch of trucks out there, and then maybe you get one or two to drop out, or people sit out a season trying to build another motor, and then after a couple years, kind of reminds me of all kinds of sports. You'll have someone dominate for and have a great season, one season with a bunch of trucks, and then the next year it's like nobody's even there. So, but we're trying to keep that up, to keep it going every year.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's what we're out here trying to do with these live podcasts and our live TV with a Turn in the Dirt show. It's all about promoting pulling and getting people into pulling, getting fans into pulling. There's a lot of people out there. It's hard to believe that you will go places, especially for me, because I've known about tractor pulling all my life. They've had it right here. My hometown is, I live in Laurelton. I have a Millmont address, but my hometown is Laurelton. So West End Fair, the Union County West End Fair, is only a stone throw away from me. So I've known about pulling for a lot of years. And it's crazy that I never thought of it. So I go to a lot of shows, and people would come up to me and say, "What are you guys about to do tonight?" And I was shocked. I couldn't believe that people were actually there that didn't know what truck and tractor pulling was. There's a lot of people out there that have no clue what it is at this point.
No, it's kind of funny. You say that, and you got your truck on a trailer going somewhere and you pull in to get fuel or something like that. People are like, what is that thing? What do you do with that truck? You know, so, and it's kind of funny. Then you try to explain it, said, oh, I know about tractor pulling, but I never knew they did it with trucks.
Yeah. Yeah, that's absolutely true. You know, there's a lot of people out there that don't know it. And you know what? It's our job to teach these people what it is, you know. And I think it's a good family, or it's about family at this sport, you know. There's nothing there that isn't, you know, we keep it very family oriented, I should say. You know, the announcers are great, the track officials are great. You know, it's all about family. Bring your kids out. Sarah will do. You know, she did that pedal pull for the kids on Saturday night, which was very neat. You know, she has a whole setup for that. You know, it's really cool about what goes on out there.
Oh, it sure is, and this sport, you know, I've been in it for a few years now, and obviously, like we talked about, you know, we had a lot of young kids getting into the work stock and so forth, and going that route, and a lot of people, like, you know, stay down in that, but they're trucks that most of those guys drive every day on the street, so a lot of people wouldn't even know what they do with it other than driving on the street.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, and then you start seeing, you know, that, you know, you start getting up into the 3.0 class and the 2.6 smoothbore class where, you know, you got solid suspension, you got hood stacks, and people are like, wow, their exhaust comes out their hood. You know, so there's, you know, in trying to grow this sport, and we're getting more and more people out and more. Every time I talk to somebody, oh, I got to come see us. So I tell them, I give them my schedule when I'm local. But this year, obviously, is kind of tough having any kind of pools locally because most of the pools around here are all fair pools. And most of all the fairs have been canceled.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, for the people that are listening in, if they can't make it out to see these pools and they do want to see it, Smoke and Speed has live TV that you can get on there. The subscription is very affordable. And you get to watch the replays up for 30 days. And it's a very neat opportunity to do it from home there if you want to.
Yep,
So,
no doubt. And that was one of the best things that Sarah did this year is signing up so we can actually do that. And she's definitely on her game when it comes to promoting, that's for sure.
Yeah. It's all through Speed Sport TV, which is awesome. We gave her a deal and a contract to do this, and you know, I took over some media stuff here, and I come up with the Turn in the Dirt show, and me and Steve, the announcer, were out there sitting the other night, and we were just talking about this, how the best thing that is right now is just to promote pull and let people know what's going on. It gives people something to do on a Saturday night or a Friday night whenever we have these events.
Yep, so true. And with that being said, you know, like you said, you can watch it up to 30 days afterwards. So a lot of times, I signed up for it myself, and I actually put it on my TV, and you can actually put it in slow mode and watch your pool and see what you do wrong.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, so it's very nice for you too.
Yes, no doubt. It helps us out a lot. You know, it's better than having it on your cell phone and trying to watch it on your cell phone, and you can put it on your big screen and watch it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and it was definitely a fun time this weekend. I mean, like I said, you were sitting Friday night. We were sitting there waiting on the truck pulls to start, and you got people. You know, Chuck Dutter, what a great guy. I just have to bring him up, you know, and talk about him a little bit. You know, him and his Duramax. So he's had enough of problems this year. You know, I don't want to jinx the guy, but he's had enough of problems this year. He melted down a motor. He comes in Friday, he calls, he says he's going to be late. And we come to find out he comes from the hospital. He had to go get stitches in his leg because his foot slipped off the clutch while loading his truck, and it cut his ankle. You know?
Yep.
And that gets to tell you what kind of guys are pulling, how dedicated they are to this sport.
Yeah, it's pretty much, we'll pretty much run through walls to go run. This is one sport you don't realize how addicting it is until you sit in the seat and go down the track. You know, I get a lot of questions all the time, you know, what makes that thing exciting to only go 300 feet down a track and pulling that sled? I said, you've never sat in the driver's seat. You know, with the adrenaline rush and everything else going on, and it's not like you just getting in your car and driving every day. There's a lot more that goes to it of trying to get that truck down the track.
Yeah, absolutely. And you say the adrenaline rush. I'm very good friends with Jerry Martin out of Jerry Martin Repair, and he let me get in the driver's seat of his semi a few times, and I was actually signed up for it for points this year on the East Coast circuit. But with the year we're having with COVID and everything, that just didn't happen. But I know what it's like. I was sitting in there the first time. It was down at Beast of the East. I was sitting in the driver's seat. I wanted to make a pass because I wanted to pull it at the Bloomsburg Fair show in the actual semi class. So it was after the show. The track was done. They're like, all right, you can bring the semi out. And I just remember that feeling. I couldn't stop talking about that for about 2 weeks straight. It was all about semi pulling at that point.
Yeah, and I'm telling you, it's addicting. Once you get in that driver's seat and you feel that and how you feel and you see how the truck reacts as you go, and you're like, yeah, you don't realize how bad it is. Next thing you know, you're buying a bunch of parts and putting a truck together.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So, as we talk about putting these trucks together, so obviously, when it comes to pulling, I'm just going to put it like this. You don't get rich doing it, right? You're not going to live off the payouts, but the payouts are fairly decent for a weekend trip, correct?
Yeah. Oh, yes, they are. Yes, and you're never in this sport. You're never going to break even, and you're doing it for the love of the sport. And you're doing it. Definitely. This is not doing it for money, and that's what it's. It's great having the extra money. If you win and the payouts are pretty decent, and everything else like that. But all in all, it's the love of the sport.
Yeah, what's great about those payouts is a lot of times when those payouts are coming from somewhere, they are normally coming from a sponsor. And, I just want to shout out Tevin from CPI and definitely yourself, Jay, because Hills Automotive Services also puts money into that. So you got CPI putting money in, you got yourself putting money in, obviously Smoke and Speed puts a little bit of money in there as well.
Yep.
I just want to thank you, sponsors, because without sponsors and fans, we can't do this.
Yeah, Kevin's a great guy over there at CPI. Known him for years, pulled against him for years. Can't wait to see him get another truck back out on the track again. But if it wasn't for sponsors, our payouts would be nothing. And that's another side of things that getting into truck pulling that I never knew about. A lot of drivers don't know about until you actually start getting into trying to run a points class, trying to run truck pulls, and then you're like, wow, where are we going to get this money from? And thank God the sponsors, we go out and get a few sponsors to help out with that.
Yeah, absolutely. And if anyone that's listening is interested in becoming a sponsor, just get a hold of, go on the smokeandspeed.com website, and Sarah's information's on there. Or if you want to just sponsor any organization, we're not against that at all. If you want to become a sponsor, you're greatly appreciated no matter where you go. It's definitely all about pulling, and we're coming up. We got another hook on August 15th for points, September 5th for points, September 26th, and then the championship night is going to be October 10th. And we're sitting with you in first, and we're just really waiting to see how this is all going to play out. What do you plan on doing to make sure you can keep these 4 points hooks? Now, granted, you're probably going to have about 8 hooks because we have pretty much a test and tune the night before, and these are all up at Burlington Motor Park, obviously. So, what do you intend to do to try to keep that number 1 spot?
Just trying to stay, stay together for one thing, and just trying to definitely stay competitive, and also, and try to keep the same runs going, trying to get my runs even better. That's the only way I'm going to be able to do it. These guys come out serious. We talk in the pits, we're all friends in the pits, but when it comes to truck pulling, these guys are pretty serious, and they got their own little secrets that we're all doing, and hopefully your secret works out that night.
Yeah, absolutely. I see guys making, so on Saturday night you had let's see, you had the first run on Saturday night, right?
Yeah, I had the first run. Yep.
Yeah, so you were able to go back, get test hook, and then you dropped your hook and come back. The track seemed to be, on Saturday night, it seemed like the track was getting better the later you got in the class. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that's kind of how it seemed for me anyway.
They started building the road, and as that road starts to build, and more people run on it, and the more it gets rolled and everything else like that, you just got to kind of stay out of the ruts at that point there. But, it definitely got better. There's some tracks you'll go to where, you don't want to, you want to be the test hook because that track's going to come apart as it goes on further during the night. And then there's a lot of times it goes the opposite way. It'll fall apart and come back together. Next thing you know, they're building another road somewhere else on the track, and you just got to pay attention. I just got lucky to drop my hook and was able to come back out and run last, and it gave me a chance to find out where these other guys were running. Definitely wasn't running where I went the first time,
Yeah.
but it definitely worked out.
So when you did that, you changed your track placement, and you were getting ready to come back out. Is there other minor adjustments that a puller does before he comes out there? Because I know that a lot of times you ain't doing a whole lot of major adjustments because normally you're pretty close to where you want to be.
Yeah, there's not much you can do. Once you drop your test hook, technically you're not allowed to do anything else to your truck but to try to get it cooled off. You can't touch tire pressures because that changes hitch height. You can't touch your hitch. You can't do any of that kind of stuff. And with a big class running, it gives you plenty of time to if you to get it cooled down and everything else like that. But if you're only running with like 9 trucks, it's kind of hard to bring your truck back out after running like that one time. Especially like I say, we're running air to water, so we don't have any antifreeze running through our motors. So our motors definitely get pretty hot.
Yeah.
And when they get hot, they swell, and it takes clearances out of your pistons, and you're losing horsepower at that point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and there's when you were talking about dropping your hook, and I just want to bring this guy up because he's a friend of mine as well, and I always say you don't give this guy a second chance at the same track. And it's Norm Newswanger with Chapter 11 Truck. I always enjoyed watching him pull. I've been flagging already, and I've been like, "You sure you want this? You sure we're going to keep the sled where it's at? You sure you don't want to drop?" He says, "I'm dropping." And he comes back out, and he lays another 15 foot, and he's an old competitor of yours as well.
Yeah. Norm, I call him the doctor. He's been truck pulling for so long, and he's very good at what he does. And I wouldn't even give him the first hook if I had a choice.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
In another instance, there was I was down at I was at Lebanon, and it was either Lebanon or Schuylkill Haven, one of those two pulls. I was flagging that pull. John Mans was the first hook. This was last year. He just brought his Crazy X truck back out as a 3.6 truck.
Correct.
And truck was running good. He won the points last year on the East Coast circuit, and he come out through there, and he laid I think like a 3.26. And I'm like, sled set. He looks at me. He goes, "I'm dropping." And I just look at him with a blank stare, like, "You're dropping," because up to this point, everything was falling back as the classes progressed.
Yeah.
And I just looked at him. He goes, "You heard me. I'm dropping." I'm like, "All right, I won't question it." So I got on the radio and I said, "I'm bringing you back around. Or I'm bringing Jay back around." He dropped. So doesn't he come out through there and end up winning the class with about another 8 foot in front of first? And he goes, "See, that's why you never question the puller. He'll figure it out." Had a lot of good times, flagging these pulls and being around pullers, that's for sure.
Yeah.
It's definitely a lot of fun, and definitely need to get your family out to see these guys pull. We got 4 more points hooks up there at Burlington Motor Park. Jay's obviously, you're running in first. You're going to try to hold that out to the end of the year. You got Walker nipping at your heels. He ain't no slouch, that's for sure. and we got good sponsors, you know. And the one truck I really like to watch up there is Old Jenny. Ain't that truck unique?
Yeah, yeah. Old Jenny, I'll tell you right now, those guys got that truck running pretty decent. He came out and laid a couple good passes down this weekend too, and that's another truck we can't count out. I mean, he always shows up and it's with a game face, and he's ready to rock and roll. They're a bunch of good boys too. They're pretty nice people.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, it's like you said, you can't count anyone out. You know, all it takes is consistency. If you got a guy that's sitting in, you know, second or third every pull that he's at, all it takes is for that first place hook to, you know, the first place points guy to screw up, and next thing you know, the guy that hasn't won a pull all year sit number one in points.
Correct, and I see that happen all the time. You know, and like you said in that sentence there, as being, you know, pretty consistent in pulling every week. And if you're not going to be consistent, you know, you're up and down. It kind of makes it tough. What's nice about this point series that Sarah's running, she's given us all a one chance drop hook for this season. So, you know, we could take our worst hook out of it, drop it, and it doesn't count for the season.
Yeah.
So, you know, which is pretty good because, like you said, we're a working class kind of people. So there's sometimes we might not be able to make a pull, and we'd use that as our drop. So
yeah, and that's really cool the way she's got it set up. The numbers are great in your class. The competition's great in your class. It's you know, it's a good venue. And you know, we were talking about tracks and stuff. When you're coming in there and you're looking at these tracks, you're getting ready to pull. What are you looking for? Because you know, guys, I know what you guys are doing when you're out there with your pokers and everything, but for people that aren't familiar with that, they see you guys walking out on the track, guys poking the track. What's going on? What are you guys doing at that point?
Well, what we're kind of looking for is ruts, stuff like that, where we don't want to run. You know, we don't want to drop into a rut where it's going to take us off course, or where we don't want to go. Obviously, we're looking for soft spots, hard spots, that kind of stuff, and so forth. So what we're doing is we're actually looking at from down the track, looking for any kind of dips, gullies in and stuff like that we don't want to get into, because you don't want your truck to be loaded going down the track and then unload and then load again, because that's not good for them. So that's another thing we're looking at, and definitely how hard the track is, you know, and what we're going to actually be able to bite to, and try not to get any kind of soft spots to where we just throw dirt. What we're trying to do is get across the top of the dirt. You know, we don't want to dig too deep in, because that just slows you down.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, and so you're pulling these pulls. So from Friday night to Saturday night, as you're pulling on the same track. But tell us how much difference it is going from one night to the other.
Oh, it's crazy how different can be. It could be all blamed upon the weather, you know, moisture in the air, which starts bringing moisture out of the track, which makes the track even better, makes it a little bit more stickier for us. You might have a dry night to where, you know, one night might be dry and it turns into a big giant dust bowl. We might not have got enough water in the track before they prepped it, and there could be a bunch of different scenarios. But definitely, you know, there's only a few tracks out there that, you know, that are very consistent every time you go, and that's those good clay tracks, you know, and we're running on the mountain soil up top there in Burlington, which is, you know, you got to definitely have your truck set up to run that kind of stuff and make changes for that kind of stuff. So that's what we're doing when we're poking the track. We're trying to figure out what gear we might want to run, what kind of tire pressure we want to run, all that kind of stuff. That's when poking the track, you're doing more than one thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, that gear you want to run, that definitely needs to be picked a little bit of time beforehand, doesn't it?
Yes, it does. It you know, changing gears take, you know, maybe 15, 20 minutes, but that's something that you're not going to be able to do after you come across the scales and you're sitting there in the staging lanes. You definitely can't do it at that point. But you know, back there watching other classes run, seeing how the track is, and then going back to your truck saying, "Hey, I'm going to change this gear. I'm going to run this tonight."
So basically,
So
in your truck, what you got is a forward and a reverse with a one set of gears in that truck at that point, correct?
correct, yeah. So I have it's called a married system where I have a reverser and then an intermediate shaft that runs to the drop box. So the drop box is where you change your gears. And there's, for one drop box, you might be able to find 50 different gear sets for it to be able to change speeds in it. But we're looking for a certain speed, trying to keep our RPMs at the right range when we're doing it.
Yeah, absolutely. And it becomes a different ball game, especially in the 3.0 class, because that's where you first see the drop box and the open drive line, like
Correct.
that. And it becomes a different ball game. So you started obviously out in the street classes, worked your way up. What you have about 4 trucks total in that
Yes,
period of
correct.
time, and then what did it take? So you were in a truck, you were able to select your gears from the seat. How much learning was it to figure out how to change these gears to what you needed to make it work for you on these tracks?
On the truck that I have now,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, it's really, basically what you're looking for is you have a basic idea, a basic set of gears that you can run in it that gives you, that you can stay competitive on all kinds of tracks. And then you got some gears that, drops it, speeds the truck up. And you got, some tall gears that on some good tracks, you can get up some good speed on that track and get down the track. Like I said, it all depends upon, these motors from normally average going down the track, taking off at 4,000 RPMs, 5,000, and you might grunt them things down with the gears you got in them all the way down into the 3,000 range. And it all depends on, you definitely don't want to load it too hard. The more you load that motor, the harder it is on that motor.
Yeah, absolutely. So. And that's what we don't want to, especially when that motor's loaded and working. The last thing I want to see when someone's pulling is for that motor to somehow unload. Because that's normally how you see chargers pop and everything else. And it can be a very expensive fix for you guys. And that's definitely the last thing we want to see is any of you guys go down.
Yeah, that's that's the big thing is you definitely don't want to hurt anything that's kind of expensive, when it comes to this, if you guys might you get into certain situations and you're lugging that motor down and you do hurt something, it might put a guy out for a year until he's capable of coming back and coming up with money to get the parts that he needs to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. It's not just that easy that you can't just go to the auto parts store and get the parts. It's a whole different truck at this point.
Yeah, it comes down to the point to where my wife is always asking me, why is it taking you so long to build this truck? Why is it taking so long? I said, because every part I buy has to be manufactured to fit the truck. You have to rig things up. You have to bend metal. You got to cut metal. You got to weld metal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
so
you become
like you can just bolt it on.
Absolutely, you become a welder and a fabricator and a mechanic all in one.
Exactly.
To get these trucks done. Yeah, absolutely. It's fun to watch you guys do that as well. And one thing I want to mention is a lot of you guys have either a truck pulling page named after your truck, or you got a personal social media page. I just want guys to know they can go out there, friend you or whatever, like the page, and see how, because a lot of pictures of guys' trucks get put up on these pages, girls' trucks. This is a guys and girls sport. It's not just guys, and there's a lot of guys and girls in it.
Yeah, no doubt. My daughter went all the way up. We ran the points up at the Buck, if anybody knows the Buck, and she was like one of the first women to ever win a whole point series there. Truck pulling. So yeah, it's definitely it goes both ways. There's, we run against that. There's a lady, we run against up there at Burlington, and she's a tough runner too, and she just got her truck out onto the track this year. So, and that's a Hazley built motor and so forth. So, definitely very competitive. So the women do definitely get into this too.
I've always said the women make the better pullers, because every woman that I've ever seen pull, when they get in the seat, is they put that throttle the whole as far as it goes, and they just let it eat.
Exactly. And the thing is that they're not bullheaded like us. You
No.
tell them how to do something, they do it.
Yep,
where I
absolutely.
got this.
Absolutely. You know, it's just it's fun to go out and watch you guys compete. That's for sure. You know, we got a bunch of classes up there. You know, is
Mm-hmm.
it nice for you guys to be able? Where do you guys like to pull? You know, because you know I understand everyone's got to have their turn to be first class of the night, last class of the night. But I noticed we've been, you know, as the season progresses, everything has been getting a little shorter. We aren't pulling so late as we were at some of the first events. But one nice thing is, you know, where do you guys like to start off? You know, as far as class wise goes, what makes it better show for you guys?
You know what? To keep the fans in the stands, obviously, they like to see the bigger trucks run, the big super stocks and all that kind of stuff running late. To keep the fans in the stands. There's nights, I don't pull in my driveway till 3 a.m. the next morning from a truck pull. Driving home 4 hours, and that's running it. At 10 o'clock at night. So a lot of people. It all depends upon the track situation too. You have a track that needs a road built, so you get some of the smaller classes to get the track going and get a groove going on it. And then we come out. So I mean, it's all about the fans here. If we don't have fans, we have nothing. So it doesn't matter what time I'd like to pull. Pulling's pulling. We know we're going to be there till late anyway. By the time we pack up and get out of there.
Yeah, one thing I've always said, is one thing that people need to remember. It is the same track that everyone's pulling on. It just becomes the luck of the draw as far as your number. It's a
Correct.
lottery system and on how you guys are going to pull that night. So,
Yep.
I'm sure some people don't realize that, but you guys just don't go, okay, whoever signed up first gets to pull first. It's a lottery system on the
No,
pulling
yeah, it's
order.
definitely, and like I said, some of these classes, the way the classes are set up, you're trying to get the track situated to the best possibility of seeing some of these high horsepower trucks come out there and run. So a lot of times those kind of trucks you don't want out there first off the get go, especially diesel pickup trucks, because they're not going to be able to grab a hold of anything. But then you get to a track that you could put anything on it first or last, and they all run the same.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's one thing. One thing that I like in the hot of the summer is I like to see a pull start about 7 o'clock because it gets dark, at around 9:30, and as soon as that sun goes down, you'll start to notice on tracks where the moisture starts to push back to the top.
Correct. Yep. And then the track starts coming together and makes better as the night goes on. They're just building the road and going further.
Yeah.
And trust me, being a truck puller, the last thing I want to do is go under 300 feet. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you get out there in the teens and the 20s and stuff like that, and you're like, yeah, this is a decent pull.
Yeah, absolutely. And I like to see a sled set about 320. And I just want to shout out the Krause's guys out there. They do a great job. You had Clint and Yoder up there this past weekend. They just do a great job at setting them sleds up, and they're just great guys to work with.
Correct, and that's great, and it's great for us, especially truck guys who are pulling, or any kind of track, or anybody, is getting that sled set as quick as they possibly can. And these guys are so good. There's some classes they know how to run the sled. It's done. It's never a reset, and it is what it is. And that's what's great about these guys that are like the Krause, and Krause does a phenomenal job doing that.
Yeah, absolutely. And definitely go check out Krause's new sled he just built. The rat-looking paint job on that looks pretty cool. And he is definitely building some sleds over there. Krause he's got the sleds for sale as well. And he definitely, sled plays a big part in what you guys are doing out there, without these guys. Those sleds aren't cheap either, It takes money to get them out too, because they're not, the sled is brought in. It is a rented piece of equipment. It's not part of, Smoke and Speed. It's not part of Burlington Motor Park. No one owns it except for Krause. They're a sled company that have to bring that Class 8 sled in so we can have these pulls. And that's huge to have guys like them to run them and give us the experience that they do.
And those sleds are not something that are like mass produced like a car or a pickup truck either. Those things are fabricated just as much as our pulling trucks are.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. They're fun to watch work, and you know, the guys that first started figuring out that you can get these things to drive, because you know there's still a lot of pulls that are using them old sleds that you got to back a tractor behind it to pull it back.
Pull it back. Yep.
Yeah, back where you got your start, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. So, do you remember right about the year that you would have started pulling?
Right about the year, I'd have to probably go back in around the 06, 2006 range, 2007 range, something like that.
Yeah. Definitely remember your first pull?
First pull was, yes, I do remember that. That was at Cecil County Fair in a 6.0 Ford.
In a 6.0 Ford. Look at you
Yep.
now. Now you moved up to a Cummins, but you know what's funny is you pull that thing with a Chevrolet.
Yeah, yeah. I call it my tow pig. Yes, my tow pig is a Chevy Duramax. It's actually a GMC. Yeah, but yeah.
Yep. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I know.
They bust on me a lot for that too.
Yeah, that's funny. That's actually funny. But you know, you see that a lot. You see guys pulling them in with a different thing, or you know, guys pulling it. And, you know, guys got a lot of money wrapped up in not just their pulling truck, but what they use to get there. You know, because if you're staying there for 2 days, you want to be comfortable. So you know, you'll see guys pulling in with toter homes. You see guys pulling in with tractor trailers with nice sleepers on them. Mm-hmm. You know, it's a lot to get there to a pull, and you know, not just for the pullers, also for the announcers, for the track help, for Sarah. For anyone that's running an organization, it's a lot of work to get these put on, and it's just great when people can come out and support that.
Oh, no doubt, no doubt. And like I said, like what we've been saying all along, you know, if you don't have a fan base, we got nothing really. I mean, I don't want to go to a pool with nobody sitting in the stands.
Yeah, it wouldn't be very.
That's
fun.
what it's all about. That's why you know, a lot of us guys like to go out to the Midwest and run out in the Midwest with those guys out there, especially at a big national event like Shides, or, you know, they have Shelbyville this year, which is being put on by like Jumpin' Jack Flash, that 3.6 truck.
Yeah.
And his father's putting it on, which turned into a 2-day this year, which is phenomenal.
Yeah. That's
so, yeah, and then we're going to be running against trucks across the nation at that point there.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's nice. It's nice leaving your area to go do that, to figure out how your truck actually we know how they pull against these guys around here. Let's go out in the Midwest and let's go see how we pull against those guys.
And you know, it makes a difference to what part of the country that you're pulling in. You know, Midwest guys can really, you know, have a good time out there and be really good pulling. We might go out there, we might stack against them, we might not. Mm-hmm. You know, bring them in on our ground. It's good to do that as well, to see where you stack up, because ground plays a big difference in it as well, what you're used to pulling in.
No doubt. They run on totally different dirt than we run on here. And that's the thing. You know, each state you go to has different. You know, you go down to Georgia, they got that red clay, which is a phenomenal track. The Buck had clay brought in up here in Lancaster, but and then, you know, some tracks you go to that have been around forever are just basically, they were started as topsoil tracks, and they're still a dirt track.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, and out in the Midwest, you know, running out there, I don't know what kind of dirt it is, but it's hard as a rock.
Yeah, definitely. I definitely like watching pulls from all over the country, you know, and I like watching pulls from all over the world, really, because it's just interesting to see what people are running, you know.
Oh, absolutely. And you know, and that's why we try to run one rule book, which is and try to keep everything. So when we do go out to the Midwest, we don't have to change anything on our trucks when we do that. We're already legal to run their classes.
Yeah, it's like you said, you know, there is a rule book, so it does kind of keep that in check, where the guy with the most money is always winning, you know.
Correct.
Which is definitely good to keep.
Yeah, if that's the case, I'd be in last every week.
No, I'd be. I don't have a 3.0 truck. So, yeah, definitely. So before I let you go here tonight, I just wanted to see, you got any big plans coming up for like Shad? I know you talked about going down.
Yeah,
south.
I see the Michigan. The Michigan one got changed. Not, I think it's not this weekend, but the following weekend. That's a 2-day too. It got moved to Illinois. Definitely not going to be able to make that one, but definitely doing Shelbyville in Kentucky in August, and then the following weekend will be in Indiana, out at Shide's event at Wagler Competition Park, and then coming back from there, running a couple more here, and then come November, the first week in November, we're going to head to White Plains, Georgia, Diesels and Dark Corners.
Is that where you had your start with the Widowmaker truck?
Yeah, with the Widowmaker truck, I finished it up late summer, early fall last year, and that was the first 2 hooks on it. Drove all the way to Georgia to go get basically 2 test hooks.
Yeah, definitely. I knew you were going down, and I quick looked up online, and I was like, all right, I need to see these runs, and they made it on. You know, it was fun to see. It's always great to know where guys are running, kind of follow them and see what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I just want to thank the sponsors again. Yourself, Jay, with Hills Automotive Service. I know you work hard there every day. I called you yesterday to chat with you a little while, and you were definitely could hear the air wrenches going and everything going on around there. Just want to thank you personally. You're a class sponsor. Not only are you the class sponsor, but you're also the class rep, which takes a lot of time as well, other than just your job. So
yeah, trying to keep all these guys and everybody that we're all, like I said, there's not much to be a class rep about with these guys. These guys have all been pretty straight up, pretty straightforward, and we haven't really had any issues by any means.
No, and one thing I got to say about the Smoke and Speed series and the 3.0 class especially, when decisions are made, it seems like it's a group decision more than it is just a one-person decision.
Oh, no doubt. Everybody's involved in this. It's not just one person. I might be the spokesman for the class, but I'm not the one making. Everybody has definitely a lot of input on what goes on, and so forth, and it keeps us all accountable. Just because I'm the spokesman and I talk to Sarah and stuff like that doesn't mean anybody else's word doesn't stand.
Yeah, absolutely. And one thing I always say, as a puller, if you have any issue going on in the sanction that you're pulling with, don't be scared to go and talk to the promoter or to the person running that sanction or whatever and try to straighten it out, because communication goes a long way.
Oh, there's no doubt there, and that's one of the things we try to keep that we've had that conversation in our meetings, that the conversations have to keep going, and if anything needs to be addressed, let's bring it up, let's talk about it in a civil manner. If something happens and people are upset, we come up with the rule of give it 24 hours and then we'll talk about it.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a big deal.
Yeah, so nobody gets out of hand, says something that can't be taken back. So that's kind of what the rule book that we kind of the unwritten rule book that we kind of as a group have talked about.
Yeah, definitely. You definitely want to hold something like that. It makes it a lot better. A lot of things can be said in the heat of the moment that you can't ever take back, But
correct.
It's good to have.
Gives
these
you a little bit of
place.
time to think about things and to calm down a little bit. And there's always 2 sides to every story, and hopefully we find a equal ground in the middle.
Absolutely. And, you guys do a great job. You guys come out and put a show. Each and every one of the guys in the 3.0 class, is doing a great job this year. And, Jay, I just want to wish you luck out there, and I just want to thank you for your time. And once again,
thank you. Yep.
I just want to hit CPI and Hills Automotive. They're bringing you your 3.0 class this year.
Yep.
So,
Smoke and Speed,
and Smoke and Speed, definitely.
Yep. And Speed Sport TV, all that stuff.
Oh yeah,
everything.
We can't do it without any of these people.
No, not at all. Not at all.
And I just want to touch on Mr. Grick real quick. He's doing a lot. There's a lot of behind the scenes stuff that he's doing to make sure that these pulls are happening up there. And he's kind of an unspoken sponsor, but he's definitely sponsoring not just your class, but the whole show as well. He does sponsor the 2.6 class. I know that, and I just want to make a shout out to him as well. So, but Jay, I appreciate you coming on tonight, and I'll be looking forward to talking to you again here soon, and we'll definitely keep in touch.
All right, we'll do. You have a wonderful night. Thanks everybody for listening, and hopefully you got a little bit of information from us. Maybe
Yeah.
we get into a little bit, come around the pits. Feel free. We could put some kids in the driver's seat and have them take a look and see how we drive down the track sitting in the truck. So yeah, come on around. We got nothing to hide.
Yep. All right. Thanks, Jay. This is Robert
All right,
returning
buddy.
the dirt, and we'll all catch you later.
All right. Have a good night.
Yep.
Bye.